Good afternoon, YouTube. Wonderful January afternoon here in Arizona, and I wanted to do a video, just a kind of a little experiment on how to re-wax waxed flesh boots. I've reviewed a couple these boots here by Nix. They are the Urban Loggers, and they are a waxed flesh boot. So I'm not sure really the angle of my camera right now, but pretty straightforward. This is them cleaned up and brushed up. This is the patina wear, not cleaned up, just almost a little over a year of use of outdoor, indoor use everywhere. Changing oil, fixing fence, cutting wood. So I'll bring in a little bit closer and kind of give you some string together a few of my thoughts on what I'm going to do here. You can check a few of my older videos on what they looked like originally. They looked really waxy, of course. I mean, you can kind of see a few of the areas right in here, kind of that waxed look. And it's not quite so much greasy, waxed feeling. It's one of my new favorite looks and feels. It's a really durable way of making leather, to the elements, to scratching, to just kicking things. Naturally that flesh out. This is the reverse side of it, of course. On the inside is your hide side, your hair side, but that's removed off with chemicals. And then they go through a process to make the leather a waxed flesh. So the flesh side is waxed up. So in my mind, I'm like, what can I do if somebody wanted to re-wax or maintain that waxed look? Of course, you can put, there's different greases, Obenaufs, but it's more of has greases in it than an actual wax. It is kind of a beeswax based. What I did was I have some beeswax that I got from a beekeeper. And then so I did about 75% beeswax, 25% of this Obenauf's leather oil, just because I didn't want the beeswax to be completely beeswaxed. And then what I did was I first cleaned this boot up here a few days ago with, I know some people are going to shudder, a wire brush. And that I just kind of buffed off all the remaining wax that was on there and the patina that's on there, and kind of see how it's in there. And so I spent some time, not too much water, no soap. And when I was around the laces, I was careful not to go against those laces to fray those or loosen those, because this is a hard, heavy-duty wire brush. So with this boot cleaned up after I did that with a damp, wet rag, I wiped everything down. So generally it's pretty clean and fresh, ready to accept some new wax. So with that, let's go ahead. I have a double burner set up here. Like I said, I heated up this wax, and 75% and 25. So before we test on a small corner, this is the kilty, the leather, the false leather tongue, and let's see how that looks. So just an old toothbrush, and I want to just brush that on. Now see how quick it gets cold there, and the wax shows itself. So if that happens, well, we'll deal with that. And what we can then do is, with a heat gun, heat it up and buff it off. I can put this back in there. It's actually cooling down quite a bit. So the idea is then we can use the heat gun to kind of push that wax further into the fibers of that. So let's see what we can do. Hopefully this doesn't hurt too many feelings, but I'm going to re-wax my waxed flesh. So what's going on is cooling off. Like they hide here, it's only 70 degrees. So that's going to change a little bit. It goes from feeling like waxing up to room temperature leather. So it didn't take too long, a few minutes to put on a full coat of wax. I'm sure this is gonna cause a lot of hurt feelings with people. I understand that you're gonna wanna go with the patina as that breaks in and kind of does its thing. But there might be some people who want to take it back to the original look of the wax. So now with the heat gun, so as you can see, as I went about heating that up, the leather then pulls in the rest of that wax as it heats up, as the leather pulls up, and it's still in essence was a living and still acts like a living piece of skin, where those pores will pull in the wax as it becomes a liquid and pulls it in. I went with a little bit of the Obenauf's oil because I wanted to balance that out. The amount of actual solidified wax on here is kind of something I expected, and it would have probably been more without that oil. So I'm going to work on this a little bit more off camera, and I will present to you the finished product. So here's the finished product, the freshly waxed boot. I don't know how good that zoom is or isn't. I really need to invest in some better video equipment. I soaked it all up, and I'm sure it'll work out as I wear it. The uniformity of the wax will kind of change over time. There is the 1 year, over a year use, and some people really do like that patina on it. So I understand how some people aren't all big into a heavy duty re-waxing, but in my mind I thought, you know, there are people that are really concerned about the way that it looks, the color that it changes, and what can we do to kind of re-wax or take it back so it still looks light, but you can feel that the wax is really penetrated in there. I was worried that this being 25% of the Obenauf's and then 75% of the wax, just the straight beeswax that I got from a beekeeper, that it would then cause it to be too thick or too thin. Sorry, when I was working on it, too thin, but it really has thickened up, and I used a double burner to heat it up. One idea I had was we could possibly just take this wax with the heat gun, and as you go, kind of meld it in. One caution with the heat gun that I would advise is it will burn things. This can straight up light things on fire if you hold it to it, and it will burn stitching, it'll burn leather, and so you need to be very careful with it. I know guys that put their boots in an oven and bake them, and that is not necessary. If you're at all uncomfortable using a heat gun, just go to a hair dryer and use a hair dryer. If it's safe enough for hair, and yeah, it does burn hair, it's going to be okay on leather. So there are my two boots side by side, re-waxed, old wax. Can you see that there? The old kind of patina, the NYX logo. That is how to re-wax old, not old, the Urban Loggers from Nick's. So I hope that makes some sense. Any comments, like and subscribe, post them down below. Let me know what you think. If I should have gone with a different wax, a different concentration, not done it at all. These were the same boots that I soaked in water to break them in, and they broke in nicely, and they've held up very well. So I'm confident that this is going to do nothing but improve the overall longevity of this boot and the leather and the laces and everything else. So again, like and subscribe. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for watching. Adios.